Hello, Faith to Feet family. I told you guys that you were going to be in for a surprise this week. So, this is the finale of Valuing Your Vows, and the surprise is our guest today. Our guest is Miss DeBorah Lee. So, if you go back to the previous episodes, remember when Simply Jerica mentioned having a silliness filter, someone that she can go to run stuff by that may be a little crazy and they need to be like, girl, you need to stop tripping. Well, Miss Deborah is that person, that mentor that she has adopted me. I've asked her to be my mentor because I want to run all of that foolishness stuff by her so she can say, girl, you need to stop tripping. Or she might even just say, yeah, you on the right track. You on the right track. So, but I will say mentors, they need to not only have your permission to do that, but they also need to be qualified. And Miss Deborah is both of those. She is qualified and she has my permission to say, girl, you tripping. All right. So let me read y'all a little of Miss Deborah's bio right quick. All right, if you don't mind. So Miss DeBorah Lee is a licensed practical counselor. She is also a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor after serving in several sectors of society as a community advocate. In the education sector, as a Christian, private, and public instructor of elementary, middle, and high school students. Oh, she has them all. Guidance counselor, director of the teen pregnancy program and group home, and adult mother and child halfway house, director of patient and family services for the American Cancer Society. That's not all. Domestic violence counselor, director of displaced homemakers as well. In the religious spiritual sector, as a leader in all areas of church function, including monthly pep talks for women. And I have had the beauty or the pleasure of listening to one of those pep talks this week, and I have enjoyed it thoroughly. As well as, in addition, she has hosted to women's conferences and has done speaking engagements for several women's events. She has traveled extensively she has traveled extensively for the gospel throughout the U.S., including Israel and China. Miss Deborah is a mom to one son, one daughter in love, and Mima to four grands. So her victories, let's include this. Some of her victories come by way of a mnemonic she calls LACK, LACK, which represents the following: leaning into Christ, applying the word, chasing after God, and kinetically living. Miss Deborah calls herself the queen of par excellence. So you might ask, what does par stand for? It stands for positivity, affirmations, and reframing. So, lastly, you know that one of my mission here is to not compromise our vision, our values, and our voice. So, I always like to ask my guests, can they give me some of their values, some of their vision, and something significant about their voice? So, Miss Deborah's values are wellness, integrity, generosity, and humility. Don't we just love that here at Faith to Feet? I do. Her vision, she teaches repentance, she shifts mindsets and renews the mind. And lastly, her voice is warm with tender, truthful care. That is why she can look to be more than just my mentor. I'm sure she mentors lots of women just because of her voice alone. So, again, you are in for a treat, Faith to Feet family. So, welcome, Miss Deborah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Miss Deborah, you're going to do a slide. We're going to sit at Miss Deborah's feet today. You guys, this is wisdom right here. So, all I want to do is listen and glean, as well as I want to give you guys the opportunity. So, if there are any questions that you may have, please put them in the comments, and Miss Deborah will surely answer those for you all. So, Ms. DeBorah, I'm going to start and I'm going to put your slide up so everyone can see this. Let's see how to add this. All right. So, are you able to see it clearly, or Ms.
Yes,
DeBorah?
absolutely.
All right. So we'll let you have the stage.
Amen. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share on marriage. Just a few marriage tips that I think help people to frame a healthy relationship. And so I always start off with, people always want to say they're in love. I
Mm.
think most people are in love. And I call it love because I'm not sure we truly understand what love is, but I think that I'm going to leave that to each person to identify what love is for them. We know God is love. And so anything that's like him is love. Anything that is not like him may not be love. So the hope is as we enter these relationships, we're in love. We've identified what that means, and we're not in love.
Mm.
So, one of the keys I think that's helpful is the triangle. And I'm not talking about triangular relationships where if I had an issue with Anetta, I would talk to someone else about it versus coming to her. What I mean by the triangle is that in a relationship, and especially marriage, and I'll go into other relationships, there's a triangle. You're on one side of the triangle, your partner's on the other side, and God is at the top. And so you're traveling up that triangle to God. And the reason that you're traveling up the triangle to God is because you want to grow and you want to give your partner the best that you can give them. So that's what the triangle is. Everyone is on each side of the triangle, making their way up to pleasing God. And the hope is as you're pleasing God, that other people will be pleased with you as well.
All right.
And then values. I teach people that you look at your top 5 values. The hope is when you're connecting with a person for friendship. We hope friendship before marriage. So if you're working on building something, you may look at your top 5 values. So anyone coming into your life, hopefully, their 3 of their top 5 values will match your values. That's how we establish friendships. And I will say this as well. When you know what your values are and you hold true to them, you try to, live your life in such a way that your values are not violated.
Mm.
Once your values are violated, you stop being the wonderful person that God created you to be.
Oh, Miss DeBoer. So slow down, slow down. That's a lot. That was heavy. Okay, so you said once our values are violated, we stop being who God has called us to be.
Exactly.
Can you give us a little example or break something more of that down for us?
And I think the main thing is knowing what your values are. Now, one of my values is integrity. And how I came to know this is the word integrity comes from the word integer, which is
Mm-hmm.
whole, a whole number.
Mm-hmm.
So as I am focusing on my wholeness, I cannot allow someone else to come into my life that's not working on that as well.
Which goes back to that triangle.
Yes, it goes to the triangle. It,
Because we all have to be working on some type of growth, as you told us from the triangle, which is going back up to God, right? Who
yes,
gives the growth is in Him,
yes,
right? He lets us know, hey, yeah, this part you need to work on. But before
absolutely.
we get anywhere further, Mr. Bohr, I just got a lot of questions. So that means that before we even get to the 3 out of 5 values, go back to the triangle then. So, in order for my values not to be violated, I need to know that um, personal development and personal growth is important for you just as much as it is to me, right? Because
Absolutely.
if it isn't, then you're going to violate my values probably.
Absolutely. And it's not intentional,
Yeah.
but it can happen. But these are things that we have to hopefully have established in our lives before we're seeking partnership. My handout, if I can call it such, is laid out in a particular order. So anyone that's seeking any type of fellowship can follow this model right here. And I do believe they'll be successful
Mm.
because the next point is potential. And so a lot of times we enter into relationships based on the other person's potential. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. What happens is people don't pay attention to who someone is right now.
Mhm.
They pay attention to who the person might become. But we don't know if the person is going to become anything other than what they are right now. And
Mhm.
so I say, you're in a relationship with the person now, not their potential,
Mhm.
not their potential. And it's okay to give time for a relationship to grow. And sometimes we're in such a hurry. We're excited. We've met someone. There's some level of connection. And so sometimes we don't slow down enough to see what is the connection? How far can it go? What can this be based on love,
Mm.
the triangle, the values? So
Mhm.
knowing that when we're connecting with someone, we're connecting with who they are now, not who they might be or who we hope for them to be. But we've got to be honest about who is this person right now? Am I okay with who they are now, not who they're going to be later?
Mhm.
Because you're growing and they're growing, and the hope is that you have an understanding of this and you're okay with growing together
Mhm.
versus you're ignoring that and you're thinking or you're wishing that somebody was somewhere that they're not yet. They're just not there yet. Nothing wrong with that. But
Mhm.
it's our responsibility to have that awareness.
So, with that awareness, do you think it's possible that we might leave the courting stage too early and head into, marriage, or maybe we should stay in the engagement phase longer? Or what are your thoughts about that then?
All of that.
Because potential, like potential to me, as you said, that's something that has to grow. And if we don't do all the work in the premarital phase and recognize that the right now, what you see, what if they don't, grow to whatever in your head is, and it could be just in your head, the potential that you see for that individual. The individual sometimes don't see for themselves what you see for them.
Absolutely.
Oh, so that's important because yeah, this is a lot of things that, or those are a lot of issues I feel like that do come up in marriage, that if we probably took the courting stage a little more seriously, or if we took the courting stage, let it extend a little longer.
Hmm. Absolutely. Because I often ask, what's the rush? If this
Hmm.
is someone you believe that you're to do life together with, what's the rush?
What's the
Take
rush?
your time, build a foundation of trust and communication and understanding so that you still have a launching pad. No matter what goes on, you have a launching pad. The foundation is strong enough for you
Hmm.
to go through life together.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. Yes. Oof.
So now we have what I call PMS, which you just alluded to. I call it premarital support. Everyone needs premarital support. Everyone needs support. Some people is coaching, some people is their pastoral leadership, some is a counseling. I
Hmm.
don't believe that everyone needs the same thing. I don't believe that everybody needs therapy. I just believe that everyone needs support. And I think when we get more comfortable with calling it support, the
Hmm.
people will be more open to, accessing it
Hmm.
and,
Hmm.
and getting the support that you need because you're not supposed to do life alone. And life can be a lot less difficult when you have those support people in place in your life. So I've heard Pastor Daniel say, smart people submit.
Mhm, mhm.
And I say that smart people get support
I like it. I like it.
because your team is important. And being able to identify each person's role in your life is important so that no matter what comes up, you know who you can call.
Mhm.
You might not call Barbara because Barbara doesn't have the money that you need.
Right.
You may call her for her wisdom and so forth and so on.
Oh, Miss DeBorah, that's so good. So basically, what you're saying to us is we need a toolkit. So the toolkit is there to support us, and we need to know all the tools in the toolbox.
Absolutely.
I was just talking about this to my uncle. I remember my dad used to get on my nerves a little bit when we were kids, and he would say, "Hey, go hand me that Phillips screwdriver. Go hand me that." And I'm like, I don't know what a
Which
Phillips
one? Which one
screwdriver
is
is.
that?
Like, what is that? So you are saying we need to familiarize ourselves with that support system first after we get one, but
Absolutely.
familiarize ourselves with what each service or gifting that person is to us in that toolkit. So, man, that right there is worth the mentorship today.
Well, and it's real. The roles are important because, you need to know what people are capable of doing with you and for
Mhm,
you. So the
mhm,
roles need to be identified ahead of time, hopefully, that you're paying attention. That's why we take our time when someone's entering our lives to understand where do they fit
mhm,
in
mhm,
what's going on in my life, in the season that I'm in right now. Where do they fit based on what I need right now? Very
mhm.
important that you identify that for the people that are coming in your life, and you know your role in other people's lives as well.
Right.
But one of the things that's so important, I'm not into balance, I'm into harmony, I'm into equilibrium.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so, as we have the right tools, the right people, there's a dance that we can do because then we're not top heavy with trying to balance work. So work is getting 75% of our time and the children are getting 25. So you want harmony, you want the equilibrium. So across the board, you're working through life unhindered unless something comes up and destabilizes you temporarily. And again, your support, of course, God first, and then your supportive roles in your life, and so it helps to bring the homeostasis back together in your world.
Oh, okay, Mr. Boer.
So
Woo.
all of that, all of that is important. All of that because it speaks so highly of your congruency. Because
Wow.
we can speak a thing and our behavior could not support what we're speaking. And
Mm,
so it's supposed to go together.
mhm,
It's
mhm.
supposed to go together.
Oh, I like that, the harmony or equilibrium versus balance, because I do think that is so important because in our lives, as we head into marriage,
Mhm.
maybe one of the facets of our marriage may be having children. And sometimes having children and knowing the difference between balance and equilibrium with now you're no longer just your spouses, but
Right.
now you two belong to, you have some children that you brought into this equation, and you got to know how to balance that. But the balance is really the equilibrium. How do you keep this at homeostasis? How does he function? How
Mhm.
do I function? And how do the children function in a way that makes this family whole?
Right. Because you don't want to, when I hear balance, I hear juggling.
Mm-hmm,
I don't want
mm-hmm,
to juggle my life.
mm-hmm,
I don't want to have to make those decisions in terms of what needs more first.
mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
want to move through life with a level of peace and joy and happiness, of course, but just knowing the equilibrium of that, the
mm-hmm,
balance is not going to do that.
mm-hmm. Ooh. All right, Mr. Boer, you breaking us off too soon, too soon. Okay, we'll let you keep going. I'll let you keep going.
So all of this is one of the things, the glue to this is knowing each other's love languages. I mean, it's so important because you can love someone the way that you receive love and it may not be fit for them. And
Mhm,
so one of the things I'm learning is being nice. I am nice. So my generosity may not be received because in being nice, one example, the trash can, the garbage can is at the curb when I'm leaving for the gym in the morning. And so I was bringing it back up to the garage door because the trash had been collected. And God one day said, okay, whose job is that?
mhm.
How do you know I'm not helping someone with discipline? How do you know you're not taking that away from the person who it was assigned to? And
Wow.
so, again, my love language might be, hey, generosity,
Mhm,
being nice. And so someone else's love language may not be that. So they don't feel loved if I've taken their job and done their job for them. They're feeling maybe some level of dismay. They
Mm.
walked out of the house, what they intended to do, which was their assigned job or duty. It wasn't there anymore. So I don't know what it's creating for them. So once again, we've got to learn people's love languages. There are plenty of quizzes online that people can take the love language quiz. Most people that I know have taken it just to know, how do you enjoy being loved? How do you know you're loved?
Mm.
And we can be wonderful and kind and affectionate, and we can miss the mark.
Oh, 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 it was silence. Because you can have good intentions, but it's still not, you still can miss the mark, like you said. The intentions
Absolutely.
are good, but this is still not what the other person wants,
Right. And
or
that's what's important.
the person receives love.
Right.
Oh.
So important that you have that information.
Hmm.
And
So,
so go ahead.
so again, when it's some of it, because I keep trying to say maybe we should extend our courting phase, but is some of this on the job training that we just have to you walk by faith with, or what do you say to that?
It's work. I think it's just having the information. I think when you have the information, you're able to determine if the other person has the information, and we can make a go of it, whatever it may be.
I like that.
Mhm.
That's good, Mr. DeBorah. Oh.
Because if we don't have that information, and here's my next point, that contract. See, when you jump over the broom, you jump in with a contract. That's why I try to help people to understand their commitments before they commit. So
Mm-hmm.
you jumped over the broom, you signed a contract, right? And most people, whether it's the small print or whatever it may be, have decided, this is who I am and this is what you got. I'm not changing.
Mm-hmm.
We did the marriage ceremony, we signed the contract, we jumped over the broom. It's official. You let me know that you love me right now where I am if I don't change. This is very important that I share that with people. If this person never changes, are you okay with who they are now?
Mm-hmm.
So now contract, jumping over the broom. Now you're into marriage, and marriage is ministry. Marriage is ministry. First, the ability to minister to your spouse, your mate.
Mm-hmm.
So important. We've got to make sure we're not running out of the house every week and making sure ministry is done outside of the house and not done in the house.
Mm-hmm. Ministry in the house first.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because sometimes a partner can go to church and they seem more social. They seem more interested in ministering to the people there and making sure they're okay. But that same action is not given to their partner in the home. So marriage is ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe we need to know that when we're jumping over the broom, before we're jumping over the broom, that I'm entering into ministry, because this is what I tell my couples. You have the responsibility to support walking your partner to heaven's gate.
Oh. Okay, can you repeat it one more time?
You have the responsibility and the opportunity to walk your spouse to heaven's gate.
Wow. Wow. And that goal or responsibility alone lets you know how important it is to understand what you just said, the commitment before you commit.
That's right. Because you've got to care about that person enough on their worst day
Mm-hmm.
that my actions have to support making sure that I don't interfere with them getting to heaven's gate.
Wow.
My,
Wow.
my, my.
Mhm. That's good.
That's real good stuff. That's
Mhm.
healthy. It's heartwarming. It's exciting. Uh, it's never boring, because that's your intention. Because remember, you married your friend.
Mhm. I love the order. Like I just keep going back. I'm like, yeah, this. I love the order. You definitely ordered this.
You married your friend. So what do you want for your friend?
Mhm.
You want to do whatever it takes to support your friend getting to heaven
Mhm.
and living the best life before then.
Before then, right? Right. Yes, yes.
So now you're in this marriage, and I try to teach during the courtship that it's not just about you and him or you and her, not just about the marriage. What is your ministry or your volunteerism outside of the home?
Hmm.
Are you part of feeding the homeless? There's got to be another commitment outside of the home that the two of you have entered into. And it could possibly be the employment, the careers that you've chosen. But there ought to be something where you're not making the marriage everything.
Hmm.
Join forces for something within the community. And it could be in your church, but there ought to be something else that you have been called to do based on what you have in common.
And are you to do those things together, or it's just something that you share, but you can do them separately? Or this, you mean you need to have something that you're committed to together outside of your marriage?
I think it's good if it's together. If you know every Thanksgiving you're going to serve in the soup kitchen before you have your meal at home.
Hmm.
And also, it can be something together, and then the two of you may have separate things that you're really passionate about.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
there ought to be at least something that you're doing outside of the home that you're committed to.
Okay. Hmm. Hmm.
So now we're married. We know marriage is ministry. We're having a good time. We're sowing in our community and our church. And we want to make sure that nothing outside the home takes such a toll on us that we forget about what we're here for, that we're in this relationship. So I always suggest a check in before bed, a 15-minute check in. You may have talked during dinner, but that 15-minute check-in before you go to bed, before you go to sleep. How was your day? How are you? And I purposely put in parentheses before pillow talk,
Hmm.
because what I know is pillow talk has a whole different energy to it.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So do your check-in as you're getting into bed, make sure your partner's okay, and then whatever else happens after that, then you can do your pillow talk after that. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
leave that there.
Yes, that's so good, Miss DeBorah.
So we know communication is important.
Mhm.
Communication, conversations, and we were taught like this: into me, see what I need.
Mhm.
Intimacy.
Mhm.
That's what communication is about, without defense. And this is how come we're taught that out of the heart the mouth speaks. So when a resentment has built, we have to deal with it. Hopefully, we have the ability to go to the Lord and say, you know what? Something disturbed me, challenged me, help me to work through it. If you don't work through the whole thing completely with the Lord, then you need to have a conversation with your partner and say, listen, um, and that's it. The ability to listen without defending
Mm.
and ownership. Own it. When a person says, that behavior hurt me, we don't need to say, well, I don't know how come it hurt you, because that's not what I meant for it to do. No, that behavior hurt me, and then the response is, I'm sorry that that hurt you.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do I need to do differently that won't cause you that pain? Because again, the two have become one flesh. You're not really talking to somebody that's not connected to you.
Right. And if you are, then do you really have the previous things that you talked about before? Are you violating my values at this point?
Right.
Or do we really love each other or love each other? Like, if you can't feel my pain and I can't feel yours, yeah, there's a disconnect in the triangle.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
so one of the things I help couples to do too is a face off. You face each other, and it's called a dyad. You sit and have a conversation. I guide the conversation. One of the toughest questions, well, I start off with how you met, because we need to revisit what was so wonderful that gave us the idea and the belief that I wanted to join my life with yours, that I wanted you to be my life partner. So something was working back then that made that okay. So then we move through some questions, and then we get to what maybe the fifth question. is what have I done to contaminate the relationship? Now, each person gets to answer that question. When we get to that question, it's like, uh-oh, ownership, ownership, forgiveness, and awareness of what I need to do differently and what I can do differently and what I want to do differently and what I get to do differently. So now you've learned how to have this communication and keep the team working, the partnership working to the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, the 222 rule. Date night every 2 weeks, a
Mm-hmm.
weekend away every 2 months, and a week away every 2 years. Now, some people have the ability to do it more often, but
Mm-hmm.
what we've gotten so busy, and I try to teach couples to really put things on the calendar. Some people feel there's too much structure, it's too much commitment. If it's not on the calendar, as we know in everyday life, it's probably not going to happen. And so, my hope is that these tips, these gems, uh, they've been so helpful. I've watched people just thrive in their marriages and their friendships. And I just consider it an honor that anyone may take one of these tools and maybe just tighten up some loose areas in their marriage and just enjoy their partner.
Wow. Ms. DeBorah, I'm sure that everything on this list, if you, even if some of the things you feel like I'm already there on, but it's a reminder, like everything on this list has been of value to me. And I'm sure it's definitely of value to all of those that are listening and will hear in the future. But these are just, yeah, these are pearls and rubies.
All right. Hallelujah.
These are pearls and rubies. So I'm sure, Faith to Feed family, that you have enjoyed this broadcast just like I have. But before I let Miss DeBorah go, Miss DeBorah, is there anything else outside of your list that you want to share with us or that you want to leave us with pertaining to marriage? Maybe, you know what, I feel like we've spoken to in the series a lot about before we get married and what to prepare for. Is there anything? So I'll be married 18 years on the 14th. For people like me at the, in the middle of it, at the 18th year mark, is there anything that you would say that you could give advice to those women if they feel a little left out, since we've been talking about what to do beforehand in the series?
I think it's important when you're saying you've been married almost 18 years, tune ups are important.
Tune ups, that last two.
That and also everyone I think needs to have a go-to person. You need to, and we would often go to like a marriage. We called it a marriage advance because we weren't retreating. So we would often go and we'd get there, my husband and I, and it was like, wow, we're doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
Someone needs to tell you you're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Because I don't think it's that easy. You hope you are, and it may feel like you're doing okay, but it's good sometimes just to go and listen to leaders in this area to
mm-hmm.
let you know you're doing okay. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's important too. And just know that there's help, there's support out there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever be ashamed to get support. And some people don't know the difference between shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Shame is external. It's other people's opinions. Guilt is internal. And I was taught guilt is something you acknowledge. You don't pick it up and wear it. You don't have to walk around carrying it. You acknowledge it, and you also acknowledge that you're ready to make a change. Shame, like I said before, external, other people's opinions. And so, what you want to make sure is that you're hearing from people that are seasoned and have a heart for you to continue to do well in your lives.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Faith to Feet family. So you see why I say she not only has my permission, but she's qualified. I mean, just, outside of all of her credentials, just the power of the Holy Spirit flowing through her when she speaks. And I mean, if you are a believer, you can feel that power. You experience that power in Miss DeBorah's presence, whether it's online, virtually or face to face. So, Miss DeBorah,
Yeah.
Where can we all find you? Because today you have given us, it felt like a whole meal, but this was only just about 30 minutes. So to get that much value, I know they would want to find you somewhere else and even maybe on a consistent basis. So where can we find you?
Well, in the chat is dcomrade50gmail.com. And
Okay.
also on my slide, I am DeBorahLee.com.
All right, Faith to Feet family, there you have it. This was the finale of Valuing Your Vows. And today I will say you did not fall short of delivering value to us, Miss DeBorah, and we so appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
All right, thank you.